Hey folks, thanks for tuning in. We are sponsored today by Telefunk and Electroacoustic, makers of the M80 dynamic microphone, featured in today's episode. And we are also sponsored by airturn.com, makers of the AirTurn Go Stand, also featured in today's episode. Folks, here we are, episode 90 of Roadie Free Radio. We are in the offices of Pete Shapiro right here at the Relix headquarters in New York City. What's going on, man?
Good to see you, Larry.
It's
rock and roll, bro.
You too, man. Good show the other night, Tedeschi Trucks.
Oh, yeah, real good show. I went both nights. Did you go?
Did you? I just went the one night.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I told Derek that we were, actually we did this yesterday. We put in, a 20-night offer. I don't know what's going to happen. You heard it here first, but
a 20
I think we do 20.
Offer?
We wouldn't go all at once. We'd break it up.
Yeah.
I guess that's a way of demonstrating how much we liked it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think so.
But that band right now is like, that music is so powerful and soulful, and people need that now.
Absolutely.
So it's really accessible. We did a Tuesday, Wednesday, and like sold out in a couple minutes both nights.
Yeah. It was embarrassingly to admit this as it is. That was my first night ever at the Cap.
Oh man!
And I basically grew up back here. Then I moved to LA. Then I came back, and since I've been back 9
What'd you
years,
think,
my first night. It was awesome, man. I've never even been to Portchester. That's a
Yeah.
funky little town.
Yeah, it's a
But
cool town.
great location with the train right
Yeah,
there. Right,
train.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
It's cool, man. That's why I fought so hard to get. It's like, it's a city venue. You can just train right there.
Yeah.
And it's 40 minutes right to the door.
Right.
But also, there's so many people who live in southern New England and Westchester who are like cool people, want to go to shows.
Yeah.
It's on I-95. So you get the
Right.
city people, you get southern New England, Westchester. And then, because it's on 95, when you do a show like even Tedeschi Trucks or Phil Esch or Dylan or Wilco or My Morning Jacket, we'll get people like kind of, it's right on I-95.
Right.
The theater's like less than a mile off of the exit. So you can get people really from Philly to Boston who will just cruise. People will travel to go see their favorite band in their favorite venue.
Absolutely. Particularly on the East Coast, Northeast. Right.
Right,
People will
for
drive.
sure.
They'll run up to Boston
sure.
without blinking an eye.
For sure. I
It's
almost went
amazing.
to go see Robert Plant at the Orpheum the other day. But
Did you?
I caught some of it here at the Beacon and I needed some more.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
I didn't get it, though. I didn't make it.
No.
But I'm saying this Bobby Phil thing we're doing. We're going to do Boston. We're going to do the Wang Center. So I haven't done a show there before. I'm pretty excited.
Well, while we're talking about the Cap,
Yeah.
let's hit that real quick and just tell me a little bit about the origins of that for you and how it came about.
The Capitol Theater was built in 1926.
Yeah.
And actually, the architect who built it, Thomas Lamb, was really the greatest architect in American history of those kinds of rock palaces,
Right.
theaters. The original Ziegfeld, the Boston Opera House.
Wow.
He built the United Palace here. Many are. He didn't do almost any. I think they're usually in urban centers downtown in the city.
Yeah.
Very rare that no one's really. There was a lot of wealth
Right.
north of New York, so that's
Right.
why there's this amazing Palace Theater in Portchester, New York.
Yeah.
It's unusual. And amazing, the theater, it started as a vaudeville kind of thing, and then in 70, 71 had this amazing year as a rock palace, and people say, what does that mean? But like it's Pink Floyd,
Right.
it's Janis Joplin,
Right.
It's Derek and the Dominoes. It's early Sabbath, early Carlos, but it's the Dead 18 times in 11 months. It's Jerry saying in a quote.
I saw that quote hanging backstage. And I was
there's two great theaters, really. Two great venues in America all around.
Yeah.
Good vibe and great sound, and it's the Fillmore and the Capitol.
Yeah.
So that was
Fillmore
pretty cool.
East, too, he says, right? Which was surprising me that he doesn't quite throw the love out to the West Coast.
I'm not, he said it's a little TBD on that one, Fillmore, what he meant. But we get to whole nother. We can part 2 on that. But
right.
Then it faded away. It only had a year, and for they did some shows in the 90s. A guy named Marvin Ravikoff bought it in 1984. Like he says, they had light coming in from the ceiling, and birds.
Wow.
And he put his life into rehabilitating it. He's like, Peter, the concerts, they're too hard. He did a bunch, Traveler and Fish, played some important shows there.
Yep.
Early 90s, couple in the late 90s, but not much really from 2000 on.
Wow.
Doing bar mitzvahs. Like, it's great. I have this one guy, Jim, and we do a bar mitzvah, a wedding, and we hire the caterers, and I only need one guy. It's a great business. So he didn't, a lot of people approached him about bringing it back for concerts, and I guess I had the stamina to go to lunch with Marv Ravikoff for 2 years, 2 to 3 times a week. That's what I did.
Wow.
Really? We would talk about. He didn't even want to talk about the deal. He wanted to talk about other stuff. He didn't really want to let go of the theater, but he promised his wife that he would.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't go away. Luckily
Why? Wetlands was done at that point, yeah?
Yeah.
And so were you just
Brooklyn
looking for
Bowl.
the next spot to do it?
Yeah, and it's such a unique place that there are no other, and it's at Stones, Bowie. I didn't even hit all the names. There's no venues really standing today.
Yeah.
They can be like Stones, Bowie, Floyd, Janis, Dad.
Right.
So that matters to me, like history.
Sure.
Especially in this age, that stuff's important.
Yeah.
More maybe just authenticity.
Yep.
The energy.
The vibe.
And I've had experience building new venues, and they're awesome too. But it's hard at first, and it doesn't have that. Je ne sais quoi, maybe night one, Well, that's actually the Cap we reopened with Dylan. That helps. But just want to try to bring. I learned a lot at Wetlands.
Yeah.
And at the Bowl and putting on shows, doing big things, little things.
Yeah.
I saw the theater, the walls, we could project onto, and I'm a film guy in background.
Yep.
So try to treat it almost a little bit like a live planetarium.
Yep.
You saw some of that at the show.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We got some video.
Yeah.
You can roll that now. The
Yeah.
trippy stuff. And we built this cool thing where the location I felt was so unique, cool, because city people could come and people from the north.
Right.
And it's such a perfect venue at the size, 2,000, and the warmth, the intimacy.
2,000. It doesn't feel like that, man. I mean, it's big, but when you're in there, it doesn't quite feel like 2,000 people. Yeah. It's much more intimate.
It was 2,000.
It's awesome.
Maybe 1992 was actually the exact click that on Tuesday night when you went.
Right.
Or Wednesday.
Wednesday night, yeah.
Okay, it was 1992, but I happen to remember that. Lucky.
Always the businessman keeping track.
No, I'm not. It's not even about that. It's about having it feel right.
Right.
So I'm not trying to be. It's not really thinking that. It's more thinking what's the right amount of people. Right. Everything that and the band's pay, but really about there's a certain number. Like if you don't have enough in there, you don't get that magic energy packed. But if you put too much in, it's too crowded.
Yeah.
So it's more about that actually. That you got to get that right. And it's almost like I actually told Tom Bailey, who's the general manager of the theater, the next day, David Blaine, I could open it up and show you the Texas into the head of the box office, that I thought it was the right amount of people, to the person.
You can tell.
I mean, within a couple up or down. So, it was pretty much there to the,
Yeah.
I can do that at Brooklyn Bowl, too. There's, magic numbers where it's that's the right amount of people.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
That's from doing 20 years of doing. I've done a show every day for 20 years, so
yeah,
that part I'm pretty good at, feeling when it feels right and feeling when it feels off. Same as sound levels and lighting and all that stuff.
Right.
I can see that stuff pretty quickly.
So, all right, let's talk about that, because I watched a clip of you in an interview, and that was a big thing, vibes. You're a big vibes guy, right? You said something, there was a quote, something like, you can have the business thing, but the real key is to have the business thing and the vibe. Where do vibes come from? Where does that, and vibes obviously, right? That's like soul. That can be all that stuff.
That's a good question. Where's it? I mean, it's the room has to have it.
Yeah.
Empty. It's kind of back to history.
Sure.
That helps. You can try to do it without that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that and any new venue can't have vibes because it doesn't have history, but it helps to go in like Floyd played here and Jerry's favorite room and Ozzy and Clapton and Bowie and Jagger. Like, that makes a difference.
Absolutely.
Wetlands had that.
Yeah.
And it's the crowd and the audience and the staff helps impact the energy. And it's hard. It's not always
friendly.
perfect.
Every one of your security guys and gals that I met, super friendly. But see, this is what I'm getting at, right? Is that I think that's a top-down thing.
Right.
Because, yes, a building, a physical space, new or old, can have good vibes, good bones, all that kind of stuff. But, you work with bringing people together. You work with creating a community in a lot of different ways. And my sense is that vibe permeates.
Yeah, that it does, probably.
Yeah. So where does that come from?
We're dealing with that in our country right now. Starting off at Wetlands. Learned a lot. The venue didn't have the perfect sound and lights and sight lines. Yeah. It was like, I don't know if you ever went, but it was a little off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Breakfast with Mo on a New Year's.
Yeah.
I did that.
Monkeys on Ecstasy.
Yeah, my first intro to Wetlands.
They just played the Cap, Rob's first shows back. It was
Did
really
they?
cool.
Oh, shit.
Because the singer had cancer. But
right.
But he's back. So Wetlands, like, we had to try harder because the room didn't have the natural sight lines.
Mm-hmm.
And we learned a lot of vibe because you couldn't always see the show so good. So you'd go maybe have a drink or hang out in the basement lounge.
Yeah.
Or by the VW bus and, like, hang out. I meet a lot of people like, I met my wife there. But when you go to, like, like Bowery Ballroom is a more classic, perfect concert venue than Wetlands was, or Irving, but I don't think a lot of people went to Bowery. You just watch the show.
Right.
You're not meeting your wife. So, like, Wetlands almost caused you to intermingle.
Yep. Because
you weren't just locked in one spot watching the show.
Right.
So, like, I tried after Wetlands, went away after 9/11, and started conceiving up Brooklyn Bowl and working with Charlie Ryan and ran Wetlands to help. And we kind of conceived things. Like, the idea was to keep the best of Wetlands. It was a bit of a village. And the wood and the brick and that vibe. Brooklyn Bowl is a bit of a village. Different areas, pockets to move around to.
Yeah.
We believe set breaks are important. Longer shows get a chance to interact.
Yep.
And, but also put in, like, perfect sight lines into, like, which Wetlands didn't have. So Brooklyn Bowl, and we had food. We got the Blue Ribbon guys. Brooklyn Wetlands didn't have any good air conditioning.
Yeah.
Wetlands didn't really have that. We added then the visual. The bowling's awesome, but in a lot of ways it's less about the bowling than it's about what the geography of bowling, the lanes enable visually.
Right.
Screens, like, is there a picture here? But that's really powerful what you can do with the visual. They're 100 feet wide, the screens, and they're 140 feet from your eyes. Like, people sometimes say, it's like Epcot for adults. And, like, yeah, it kind of is. Like, and you can show the live show, IMAG, which you'll see on the screens in Arena. We do that at the Bowl.
Right.
And it's awesome.
Yeah.
So we're integrating things like that into layout for a live music experience. It's awesome. And trying to take the vibe that we had at Wetlands and how we treated people, where we had to work harder to overcompensate because it wasn't perfectly awesome in a venue.
Yeah.
And we tried to bring it together, right? So we did, like, kept the vibe, how we treated people. When we had to work harder.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have the Bowery Ballroom sightlines.
Right.
And then built a new place with the Bowery Ballroom sightlines and Blue Ribbon food and some bowling and the screens and great, old barn, and treat people the same, like Wetlands.
Internally, though.
Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely. But internally, for you, do you think vibes is something that you are born with or you can learn? I mean,
both.
My impression is that, like, I think you bring that to a situation, right? You coordinated fairly well. You're working with artists, management, customers, fans, right? The whole thing. And again, that's top down. So the guy behind all of that's got to bring something to it. It's the attitude. I was standing on the street talking to Walt, Amy's buddy Walt, who used to be with her dad, Levon, right?
Yeah.
And you rolled up, smiling, You said hello to everybody right there on the way in, said hello, shook hands with everybody, made eye contact with everybody. And at the end of the night, you came back out, again, saying hi to everybody. There were a few fans, a couple stragglers waiting there. I think you signed a guitar or something.
All right.
You did a little signing. Again, smiling, how are you? Eye contact, in the car, and you're gone. That's top-down, creating a vibe for somebody.
I'm like, shh. Shit, I hope we get this on tape.
And, well, we are right now, man. And
you should film this.
And I passed you at the bar,
smiling,
hanging out with a group. And I think
good night.
Yeah, it was a good night. Absolutely.
No,
I mean,
I try to do that all the time,
those vibes. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. So, how do you balance all that? But no, fuck that. Let's go back to the vibes thing.
You're born. It's both. I mean, you got to be somewhat born with it. Be able to stay here. I try not to go too far up. Because I've been there and then shit goes wrong. And did the Fairly Well shows, the Grateful Dead's 50th anniversary stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm still doing dead cover bands. So I don't.
Yeah.
And then when things go wrong, I've been through just doing all the been through a lot. So I try to stay here, not too up, not too down either. When it's tough, still can be tough. Independent entrepreneurial stuff, rock and roll, like things go wrong a lot, and so it's a lot of it's how you respond to that,
right?
And how you stay here. And I've just learned to be pretty there, and maybe there I'm smiling. I can be like, I know that's important too. Yeah, people and
where'd you pick up some of that? Where'd you pick that up? Who were some of your mentors?
Larry Block, who started Wetlands, who kind of passed it on to me, was key. He wasn't always smiling, though. And you read the Bill Graham book and stuff, people sometimes say, oh, you're like that, but nicer, Right. I don't know where I got the night, but it's there's a cool story. When Hootie and the Blowfish back, like, when they had that album, they sold like 25 million records. Yeah. The first, and it was kind of like it's a good band, good bar band, but how they sell 25 million, and I think I heard, and I met them, and they were super nice guys, and when they traveled around in their van before the album came out, touring for the year before, pre-internet, radio's important, but they got signed, I think, to Atlantic. Yeah. They would go visit and do like radio station performances. Yeah. And visit with like their college reps for their record label, getting ready for this release. They were such good dudes. They would hang out, and they would hang out late night and go drinking with them. The label guys and the radio station people hang out. And so when the record came out, they had been around the country for like a year, hanging out, making all these friends. Right. So they had a lot of people who were really wanted to see them succeed. Mm-hmm. And they had a lot of people who worked hard for them. So it's an interesting story, and then it was giant. Right. So, I mean, huge. I just know, like, the little things matter. And, like, and that can be, like, the bathroom's got to be clean. If they're dirty, like, that sucks. Right.
You're going to hear about it.
And something goes wrong for an artist. Like, little things matter. Yep. And so I know, like, the little things I do probably matter, too. Sure. Maybe it's some kind, I didn't even realize that till we just said it. Yeah. No, but for me at least, I always know little things. So I can see the little things, pretty well. Yep. After the 20-something years. And that's cool. That's why I started young. People are like, why are you doing it? Well, I was like, if I can do it for 20 years, I'll be a young veteran, hopefully. Yeah. And that's a cool thing. Experience is a lot of this. Yep. Just knowing how to deal with situations. Yeah. Because you've been in them or you've been in similar ones. So you're a lot better off dealing with a situation when you've been in a similar situation before. Right. Right. It's harder when you haven't been in that situation. Sure. Ever before. Then you might freak out. Then you might make the wrong move. Yeah. So, like, there's a huge benefit for me now in having done the biggest concert in America, like the Fairly Well thing. Yeah. But I still bring it. I just did a dead cover band last night in Vegas. So, like, I'll still try to take the lessons of each and improve each. And there's specific ways to do that. Sure. Setting tone of vibe. Like the back of the security jackets at Brooklyn Bowl, they say welcome. Yeah. They don't say security. And I did a big one at Fairly Well which was we got all the. I think this is really important. It didn't cost much. It's one of the most like impactful things for the cost. Same with Christmas lights. Christmas lights cost like nothing, and they have a lot of impact.
Yeah.
All our venues have them. Basically, I put them up one day in Wetlands. I've never taken them down. They're over. It's just, ushers and security at Fare Thee Well at Soldier Field. We got them all to wear tie-dyed shirts.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you saw the number of the security guy. I was still an official security,
Yeah.
When your whole security team at a stadium, and we were 360, 75,000 people, is wearing tie-dyed shirt, like, that makes a difference.
Sends a message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People feel it. People notice it. Every single person there touched that, interfaced it with the security stuff. And it only cost us not that much.
Yep.
In consideration for how much impact it had.
Sure.
That's back to the Christmas lights. We're joking, but I actually think they have a great visual impact.
Yep.
And they cost like $4.
Right.
Literally. But they have really impactful visually.
Yeah.
And so there's some things you can do. And we're talking about two things that aren't that expensive.
Yeah.
And they matter.
Yep.
And it's harder when you're alone, though, because then you have no money. And, like, how do you clean the bathroom? It's easier a little bit once you get a little bigger.
Yeah.
It's probably hard alone and hard at a really big company.
Right.
You want to be in the middle. I'm trying to be in the middle.
Right.
I'm in the middle there.
I like it, man. I like it, Pete. Years ago, I saw the Dead at UNLV, like 94, 95.
Oh, yeah.
And it was one of my
I was
first
there
shows.
in 94.
Were with Dave Matthews opening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sam Boyd Stadium.
Yeah, exactly.
I almost died, actually, but it's all good.
Did you? That was
I
my
got
first.
bit by imported red fire ant. I had an allergic reaction, ambulance, whole thing.
Wow.
But I didn't. I'm alive.
I'm here to tell the story.
I died in 1994. Yeah.
Wow.
Nah, almost.
That would make this
It was
interview
hot. I remember
pretty
that. I was
special.
there.
It was hot as hell,
Yeah.
man. It was my first whippets, as a matter of fact, out in the parking lot.
Do you have any left?
That's another story. I don't have any left,
Okay,
but I don't know if I could do those at 47 now. That would be a little.
It's a comfortable cat.
It's a very comfortable. It is.
Really to
Again,
go.
the vibe in here lends itself. But I remember my buddy pointing out to me the rock meds.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing you're talking about, right? On-hand staff.
Yeah.
To help
They
people
help
that
me.
are just
That's
having.
funny. They say my life. Nah, it's
And
funny.
weren't they wearing tie-dyes?
Yeah.
They had like a uniform,
Yeah.
and you knew like, holy shit, if I start
identified.
freaking out too much,
Yeah.
those are the people I go to.
It makes a difference who
Yeah.
helps you if you're in that space. Those people are like really having a meltdown.
Yeah.
You go send a cop in. He's not, or they're not
right.
really
They're not geared
educated, set up for that versus
Yeah.
a rockman. Okay.
Are they still around, the rock meds?
Not. I think you can bring them to your festival, but like not at the same level. They've different. There's new versions of it.
Yeah.
And I've got this festival lock-in, so
Yeah.
it's in the spirit of that kind of music. So we also need to pay attention to the medical issue too.
Right.
You got to do a lot, to do this stuff right and like have it be well rounded and not miss something.
Yeah.
It requires a lot of thought and incorporating the right teams, spending the right money to do it right.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, there'll be holes usually.
Yeah. Just to hit back to Wetlands real quick, Brian Spicer, on the way out, you left, and he was kind of watching you go out, and he was like, man, he's like, my band used to play at Wetlands. And he goes, one of the coolest things is that I can go back and look at the photo album of all the posters or something and see the poster of my band playing at Wetlands. Yeah.
There's an original one out there, but
which is just
I'm
nice.
lucky. I was very fortunate. The whole without Wetlands, I wouldn't be here now.
Right.
Derek, I was saying, I know Derek, 20 years.
Wow.
And he was like 17. I was young. He was even younger.
Yeah.
And like I have relationships now with a lot of the bands I'm doing shows with.
Yep.
Because we started doing them together at Wetlands 20 years ago. And I just learned a lot. A lot of this, I don't think anything in life, but this stuff. And to get a voice like that, you need to do, big proponent like the 10,000 hours stuff you've heard of, Malcolm Gladwell, which is to be great at something, you need to do it a lot.
Yep.
Or to be really good at something.
Yep.
10,000. I'm
Sure.
beyond 10, and
You're way
so
beyond
it's
10.
helped me. I'm gotten pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Just because of all the experience times doing it, you really
right.
makes a difference. It can really helps me with vibe. I can feel the vibe. Why? Because it's been a lot of shows.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
You went to Northwestern. Where'd you study at Northwestern?
Radio, TV, film.
Radio, TV,
and
film.
poli-sci, double major.
Okay. but no business.
No, I just learned that stuff on the go.
You figured it out on the go.
Yeah, you feel around on the go, man. I didn't lead me. I was kind of wag the dog that way. I wanted the music, but, but that part's important, or
right,
or it doesn't work.
Right. Did you find along the way there's like, I better take a course on this or read this book or no? Was
Taking over Wetlands became my school.
That was your school. That was graduate
Lessons
school.
with Larry Block, who was the former owner, became my education and indoctrination or mentorship.
Yep.
Had some questions, learned on the fly, just met with the interns here today.
Yeah.
It was kind of like this really good experience. Like, even if it's like a small show for 40 people, put on a show. A lot of the things you have to do a small show, marketing, the booking, the production, all that, you have to do on a small show or a big show.
Right.
If you can find a way to do something, even if you get a friend's bar, whatever it is,
right,
at college,
right,
that's really important.
Yeah.
Because then you've done it. Yeah, then you got a couple hours in. You only have 9,994 left or whatever, 6 hours. Once you start doing it, it's really the best way to learn.
Sure. So let's go back to growing up, man. Growing up here in the city. You grew up in New York?
Yep.
Big family?
I'm 3 brothers. Does that count? That's
all boys?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Anyone
Not
else
a
in
music
family?
or no?
No. Mom and dad, no music stuff?
No music stuff.
Wow.
And my brothers either, yeah. One's in entertainment, LA and film, but the other one, we do a lot of green stuff together, and he's in tech and sustainability and the kind of interfacing of all that stuff.
Yep.
Parents know, but my dad helped a lot, my late father, each of us, and helped me a lot because he was a great attorney.
Right.
And I would tell anyone, at least my experience, good counsel is probably the most, and I talk to people all day, getting counsel, I would say.
Yeah.
Probably arguably the most important thing. You can have money, you can have other stuff, if you don't have good counsel, you'll make mistakes.
Yeah.
And my dad was able to help me early. It wasn't even money. I mean, Larry Block from Wetlands we were structured where he gave it to me. I paid him on a monthly payment system, but having your dad as lawyer, because I wouldn't even know what the lawyer was saying. I was 23. I don't know I don't even know if he's paying attention, screwing me, helping me, he's saying stuff. I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
So to have your father looking at at the table, all the different lawyers that you need for this kind of thing, a real estate lawyer, a corporate transaction lawyer, the liquor lawyer, a lot of shit.
Yeah. It
was really important that my father was there and everyone knew you can't fuck with this kid.
Right.
His dad, even your lawyer, you gotta pay attention.
Right.
You gotta do the right thing. It's being watched.
Yeah.
That was really meaningful.
I bet.
For me. So anyone out there, I met a guy I know the other day, it was oh, my son wants to be a lawyer. And he's I'm going to go to law school, and I'm telling him not to. It's business. You don't need that anymore.
Right.
I was actually, bro, if you could do that, that's the first place you should go. And then you can go do anything.
Right.
But you can take that knowledge and put it into a lot of stuff right now. In this world we live in, there's a lot of IP issues.
Right.
I have an in-house lawyer now. It's the best thing I ever did.
Right.
Because everything touches that stuff.
Sure.
Good counsel.
Well, you got a lot.
People make mistakes when they don't get counsel. I've seen that.
Yeah. Well, and you have a lot. You said you have a lot of touch points where you could falter or someone could find fault to come at you. So having someone on your team constantly is a big thing.
Yes.
You had
very important. Obviously, super the team and the people and thinking. I'll give you one quick story.
Yeah.
Because I see it all the time. There's 2 people. They work at Brooklyn Bowl. A lot of we try to support people in bands and artists. They're all
Yeah.
And they each come in and they say, I got a gig, my band. We're gonna go on the road for 3 months. One's I quit. Thank you, but I quit. No, I got a gig. I'm going for 3 months. I'm done. The other's my band got a gig. I'm gonna be gone for 3 months. If possible, I love it here. When I come back, if I come back, I would love the opportunity to come back if I could.
Mm-hmm.
And they both come back. But our HR people, the one who says, can I come back? If they do a good job, you can come back. At Brooklyn Bowl, we let people go and come back. But one kid said, I quit, don't need this, and still comes back.
Right.
And doesn't, the only difference, is the one who's like, I might want to come back. I spoke to a parent, we believe, usually. Or got counsel, got advice.
Right.
The other one just went and did it and didn't get any advice and just quit.
Yeah.
There's no difference between the two. The one who said I might want to come back, if they don't come back, no problem.
Right. Right.
Think about what a big way, just the way of saying that is. One can't come back. They both want to. The other can come back.
Right. Well, it's, again, something else that you talked about in this interview that I saw, when we were talking about vibes and business and whatnot, is for you keeping an eye on the big picture, right? Especially when you're doing fairly well. There's a lot of stuff going on for that. Artists and fans and the whole thing, and venue and all that kind of stuff. And you try to keep your eye on the bigger picture.
Yeah.
We're doing
that was
this
hard.
whole thing.
Yeah. And the details that fall within it.
Right.
Without losing your focus. Yeah, it was a very complicated thing because social media, and it was so big.
Yeah.
And I was so in the middle of it. And you can read too much of that stuff, which will really take your eye off of focus.
Yeah.
And I just reminded myself that what will be remembered were the events.
Right.
No one remembers like the before. But it was really caught up in rumors and this and that.
Sure.
And you have to respond sometimes too. Like we needed to add more. There was just too many people who wanted to go to those shows.
Right.
The on sale we knew. No one expected it. No one knew it would be the level that Ticketmaster was like, wow, we have more people lined up online to buy a ticket to this event than any concert we've ever done. More than by one band, big. So we knew it was just it was just.
You had to have
so
known.
We added more. I thought it'd be big. Some people, no, there were some people who were like 3 nights Soldier Field. There was some skeptics back then before now, but I believed. I wasn't that worried.
Sure.
But we became more worried when it popped so big. So
Right.
that in 1 minute, 500,000 people wanted more tickets. They each would have bought 3 nights for a ticket. We could have sold millions of tickets.
Right.
And then the mail order, we thought there'd be, and it was just like, holy shit. And a smart thing, thank God, we were able to add the weekend before in San Francisco, and we found this giant stadium in Santa Clara at 77 a night. So we did 154,000. It needed another 150,000 tickets to satisfy people's demand and not have everyone come from the West Coast to Chicago.
Right.
It's like that's also like where you can like focus on your thing. Don't listen too much, but listen.
Yeah.
And like we listen enough, like we need to do something. And it's not just like anything we can do other than provide more shows.
Yeah.
This is the only way. We need more tickets.
Right.
But the 3 are sold out. We can't get more tickets. Also, it was cool. I had a feeling that the streams and like watching it in venues, we put it in venues all over the country and paper, that in the end would be awesome.
Yeah.
Which it was on a PA, but
Sure.
not in a movie theater, on a PA, drinks, awesome. But I knew beforehand people were like, I'm not going. You're pissed off, and then you see that and you love it. And it's been interesting to see it flip. And the shows were there that good. And the weather, everything broke right.
Yeah.
And that's all people ever talk to me about now. Thank God.
Right.
It worked out. I could have been.
Let's go.
We wouldn't be doing this interview with me.
We would, man. Let's go back again, family stuff, because I know that philanthropy and giving back in your family, uncles, grandfather, your
you
dad,
read up
right?
on all that,
I read up on you, man. I mean, I know what there is, but I wanted to go a little deeper.
Yeah, I've got both sides. Like my great uncle Joel Spingarn was the first president of the NAACP with W.B. Du Bois, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And my grandfather, Peter Shapiro, was very involved in the state of Israel, but also tax lawyer, deputy mayor of Cleveland.
Wow.
Went to Israel when the country got started, and my dad was very involved and stuff. So I continue that, and it's cool. The platform of these venues is a great way to support. Lots of organizations. I joined a lot of boards now to help them with live, because not many people.
Right, and you do a lot of philanthropy stuff, right?
Yeah,
I mean, so I imagine
the Women's March. I was very involved. I volunteered my time. I produced the March for Science.
Yeah,
done Earth Day 4 times on National Mall, the 40th anniversary. Yeah, done a lot of that. How do you not? Yeah.
So I imagine though, growing up, was that stuff very prevalent and talked about in the family that you should. A good person, a person should give back? Was it sort of
I don't think it was
just there? It wasn't conscious. It was just there. It's like, this is what you do.
It's like a mix. I think it was kind of talked about a little. It wasn't like It's followed by example.
Yeah.
Or
lead by example. Yeah.
But also follow. I was following.
Right. You were following.
So I wasn't.
Now
I
you're
didn't
leading.
Mean lead.
No.
I didn't mean lead. I didn't mean it. I meant follow my dad. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So actually, it makes sense.
Absolutely.
I was following.
I was with
example.
you, man.
Yeah. Followed by example, I was.
Yeah.
And Wetlands was built on utilizing a place for young pre-internet.
Yep.
Help organizations meet people. Amnesty International, Rainforest Action Network. Where do they have a meeting?
Yep.
At the school, at the church, at the library, or at the rock club.
Right.
Where do we get young people? Where do we get people who are going to be activated? Activism. Usually it's young people, and the idea was do the meetings before shows at the rock club.
Yeah.
And so I came into that, and that was even like left of left center. It was pretty out.
Oh yeah.
But I felt it was really. I wasn't that far to I'm to the left. But
Yeah.
It was even further. But I thought, and fought. And it's how I got Wetlands agreeing, and I felt that was important.
Yep.
That those people have a place to meet, to gather, to organize.
Yep.
It's been less important now because now you have the internet and you do a meetup and you go to Starbucks, but that didn't exist then.
Right. Right.
So
right.
Wetlands played a really important role, and I learned a lot about that then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sustainability and all these issues.
And you fought hard for the Brooklyn Bowl to be green.
Yeah.
And a
We
lead
made
building.
a
All
lead
that
first
kind of
one
stuff.
like that. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
You got to try and do it. It's harder.
Right.
Costs more.
Yep.
It's harder.
Yeah.
And it's harder.
Right.
But sometimes there's the right way to do things, and you have to decide when you want to do that, and hopefully it's as much as possible.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, I just can't do it in this situation.
Right.
And that's righteous too.
Yeah. Yeah.
People come, hey, do that, and you're like, we can't afford. We're already losing money. Like, we
Yeah.
can't spend more now to just say, that. But I think generally, and again, it's bad experience. I've now done a lot of events on the National Mall or this time.
Yep.
And so try to do the right thing.
Is it crazy for you? Is it crazy for you sometimes to think about the amount of stuff you do? I mean, I sat here with Blakesberg, right? Same couch. Conveniently, his books are all right here, so he could reference something right here. But, I mean, there is some amazing stuff in this office. Do you sometimes come in and just sit here and go, holy shit, man, look what I've accomplished?
I mean, I try not to think too much.
Yeah.
It helps. I like having it around because if it's not, you forget.
Yeah.
And we're out of room now, so it's on another wall.
Right.
But I do like taking a great poster and framing it or a picture to remind me of the moment.
Yeah.
But I've been fortunate. I think I've pulled off a bunch of big stuff by not thinking too much. Just focusing the thinking on the execution of the event or on the idea and what I want to try to do, and less about like whole meaning. There are moments when you stop at fair that you like look, but I know not to get caught up in that stuff.
Yeah.
Usually something doesn't go good once you're like that. Just try to spend a lot of time thinking.
Right.
But like on how we're going to get
How
the
to
ushers
execute.
in tie-dyed shirts.
Right.
And less like, holy shit, I'm doing a 50th anniversary day. Like if you start thinking
Right.
that, you're not spending time on the other things. And I'm spending time thinking about the other things.
Yeah.
That's why I'm pretty good at it. Because I've just learned like the little things. And I got one. It's like the obvious. It's like it's obvious until you miss it. There's a lot of times you're like, Jesus, I can't believe we didn't think about that. I mean, there's one picture here of Pete Seeger up there.
Yeah.
You'll maybe get it later. I can't remember. With Bruce Springsteen at the Obama inaugural at the Lincoln Memorial for Obama's first inaugural. And I was working on that event. And actually, I wanted to produce the whole big concert. I had a concept. And I came in second place. Didn't get it. The guy who did like Kennedy Center Honors got it.
Yeah.
And they were like, second place, but do you want to still work on it or not? I was like, oh, I almost had this thing, but I was like, yeah, of course, yes.
Yeah.
And I did the videos before the concert on the Jumbotrons. And then I was working on it. I had the run-up show, and I was in the bathroom a couple days before, sitting down in the bathroom, going through it, and I just saw it said, Bruce Springsteen, This Land Is Your Land. And I knew at that moment Pete Seeger's manager was a friend of mine. He just randomly started managing with his boss, Michael Cole, Pete Seeger. And they didn't have seat. It was just Springsteen to close it. And I just think they forgot to think like we should have Springsteen do it with Seeger.
Right.
So I called my friend like, yo, they're going to close the giant inaugural concert with Springsteen doing Seeger. Like, is Seeger is he around? And like, he was like, call, yeah, absolutely. And then I let the guys know who were kind of dealing with everything, doing it. And then Bruce spent his playing the next day, and he came, and that's Seeger doing the end, closing with Springsteen. It happened. So that's an example, just something like, it's obvious to have Seeger do it with Bruce.
Sure.
His song.
Sure.
But they're in a rush. There's just a lot going on. They missed that.
Right.
And like that happens.
Right.
So you have to think about stuff a lot
Yeah.
to make sure you don't miss what's in front of you.
Right.
Sometimes that happens to me
Right.
still. And anyone who's like, no way.
Yeah.
Part of the experience I know is like the obvious is obvious until you miss it.
Yeah.
And that's, you know what? Never thought about it. That's why I should keep that picture on the wall to remind me. Don't fuck. They forgot to invite Seeger.
That's great.
And they just didn't think about
That's
it. And then
crazy.
it's like, what about getting Seeger? We can get. And like, absolutely we want him. It wasn't
Right.
like, oh, we don't want it. Like,
Sure.
absolutely. I can't believe we didn't think about that.
Right. Right.
They just said, oh, it's Super Springsteen. This land is your land. This is mine. That's awesome. No one's like, oh, wow. I think you too made a mistake when they put all the music on the computer. You know, everyone's, and I
Yeah.
think no one sat in a room to Bono and said, and I know, hey, bro, hold on, that may not be a good idea.
Right.
That's how, like, we shouldn't just assume everyone's gonna be cool with it.
Yeah.
So the obvious flips around also. Like, you have a great idea, you got to think of like how that might be a mistake, especially in this age. Look around, what's happening, like just being careful, thinking through what you do, and
Yeah.
being careful and liability, all that stuff.
You feel like that's gotten more today?
You do, because when you can't.
You mess up, it's almost on a bigger scale, yeah?
Yeah, and social media and everything. And
Yeah.
I was about to say, yeah. It's funny, yeah, I think it probably does matter more. So, like, there's less time. That's why I don't watch like all the TV shows and books. Like, I'm looking forward to one day, like, just spending a year reading and watching TV shows, or 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't do it because I'm thinking about stuff, because you got to get all the
Sure.
details right.
Right, exactly. What would you tell, someone who's 22, 21, coming out of school, the younger Pete coming out of Northwestern today? What would be your advice?
Advice I try to give is what I did. It's like, just go do some stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't think you have to figure out exactly what you want to do till you're like 30 now, because people work till 80. They're
Right.
retiring at 62.
Sure.
65. So take a minute longer. Live out of home if it gives you flexibility. Do an internship. That's what I did.
Yeah.
And collaborate with people. It's
Yeah.
harder alone.
Yep.
Go do it. If it's on small scale, it doesn't matter. You're still going through the motions of like putting on a show,
Right.
writing a book, or
Right.
making a movie. Even if it's on video, your phone. Who can't, like, you still have to deal with like shooting it and having an actor and what the script is. Or if you're doing a small concert in a bar, you still need to get the band. You still need to do a sound check. You still need to deal with like the catering, and if there's an agent or not, or getting people there and marketing the show and promotion
Yeah.
and production. Like, that's what I do when we do big shows. I mean,
Right.
there's a little more.
Right.
I
It's
think
just bigger, but it's
it's
just same steps,
Yeah.
like you
so
said.
the best
Yeah.
thing, I think, you see the people that probably were most successful in music and in other things are like people who at a young age were like, went and did it, did the internships, got in a van with a friend and filmed like I did. There's lots of different versions of that.
Sure.
Do it while, if you can get a job and do shit. Like, I met people like, I'm quitting my job, I'm going to go manage band. I'm like, yo, bro, like, try to keep the job and do it on the side.
Right.
Don't put so much pressure on you to just make enough money, If you can swing that, smart.
That's
I
interesting,
encourage people,
though.
don't go, oh, I'm not going to go to college, I'm leaving. Just like that guy at the law school. I'm going to tell him not to go to law school. He doesn't need it. I was like, actually, first thing I'd do is go to law school and then take all that and then go do whatever you want to do.
Right.
You don't have to go practice law. But, like, when you understand all the issues of law,
Right.
going through everything related to, let's say, the music business,
Yeah.
that's a really valuable person, more valuable than the person who didn't go.
Sure.
And it can be really powerful. Like, the issues are a lot in an age of video and streaming and shows
Right.
and licensing, that's a lot of legal and all that.
Yeah, but it's hard to tell someone who's got a dream of opening a club, opening a Wetlands, whatever it is, right? To settle down, do this, try, as opposed to just going for it. But I like that
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's
You don't have
threaded
to
if you
stop.
can
Yeah.
take all these different things, elements, and then decide what's right for you and decide what's right from that situation. Young people ask all the time, there are not a lot of Wetlands that come around.
Right.
So that was a unique thing. I'm glad I went for it because it got me into this world.
Yeah.
And but we see young people. A lot of the people we hire were interns, and we can tell which ones are here late,
Right.
get in early, work hard more. Want this, do that.
Yeah.
We can we can see it.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that get to rise
Yep.
through and get hired in other things. And
Yeah.
So people notice also. I think
Yeah.
when you're like, oh, I'm doing this, anyone watching or whatever your job, I think people over time notice.
Sure.
Cream rises.
Yeah, definitely. When you started at Wetlands, was the feeling or was the thought, the vision for you at that point, were you like, I want to be a big, huge concert promoter guy, I want to have a magazine, blah, 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 blah? Or was it, I want to just start a club, see if I can do that?
No, I didn't
Or
know.
I want to be a
No,
filmmaker.
it's a
Like, what do
great
you want to
question.
do?
It's a really good question.
Thank you.
When I took over Wetlands, like part of it was like I did not know what I wanted to go do. I was an intern at New Line Cinema. I didn't know. It's hard. What the hell, But I knew like owning this rock club, 7 nights a week, biggest 7-night-a-week club in New York. Like I was way over my head. 50 employees. I was the youngest.
What were you, 23?
Showing up in a place, they're all like, "Who's this guy?" They didn't like,
Sure.
And have to hold your own. And like hold your own.
Right.
And I just thought it would be a great I didn't have family then, kids. I could like be there late, be a good venue owner.
Yep.
I believed in it.
Yep.
I just spent time on the road with the dead. Post Garcia's passing in August of '95, like there's a creation of this jam scene from people who used to just go to dead shows. A lot of people,
Right.
who are 20 in Boulder, or
Right.
in Portland, Maine, or Portland, Oregon, or Madison, Wisconsin,
Yeah.
or in Sarasota, Florida. A lot of heads.
Right.
They all were going to dead shows. Biggest touring band in the world, America.
Yep.
So that ends. It's going to split. They're going to go some into jazz fusion, Medeski Martin and Wood. Some into more bluegrass string cheese. Some into little electronic disco biscuits. Some more all the kind of Americana, alt-Americana mo.
Right.
Some maybe the little more New Orleans jazz fusion, galactic.
Yep.
Fun. So they splintered out in all these kinds of bands, and now there's another genre. I can
Right.
go.
Sure.
And all those bands came through Wetlands. So I was like, I think this is coming, and so I kind of believed that they're going to be young people like me,
Right.
playing frisbee and hacky sack and hanging and want to go to shows, progressive, politically, like-minded.
Yeah.
Growing up and looking for, and they may not want at that time go see NSYNC and Backstreet, or just hip hop. We don't, and that won't fade, and it didn't fade.
No, if anything, it grew even bigger, right? I mean, it's a massive,
Big scene. Yeah, it's a big
massive scene. Absolutely. Why do you like the jam band scene so much?
Because they drink a lot.
Yeah.
Not just kidding.
They like their beer.
They drink a lot. And the shows are long, set break, and have fun.
Yeah.
And you ready? It's more of a fun scene. Like
Right.
when we do a show, a mega show, like people just watch the show. They don't go hang out.
Yeah.
Back to Wetlands.
Right.
It was more well suited than a Bowery Ballroom for
Sure.
meeting people, hanging out. You can hear the music.
Yeah.
But it's a 3-hour show. Go to New Orleans, the meters. You can be at the bar and get the vibe. You're talking. That's cool.
Yeah.
There's a reason you go to Open the Village Voice. It doesn't exist anymore. In any city, you used to be seeing these bands, whether you're in Chicago, Denver, San Fran, Albuquerque, Dallas, a lot of these bands. Why? They did really well live. They've survived because they never relied on records.
Right.
Just not the one-hit wonder kind of on the radio.
Yeah, no,
thing.
it's
And
community supported.
communal supportive, working community audience, early on the internet stuff and the email list and communication and tape trading, music trading, all those things that became necessary as technology, transformed what the music industry was. The jam scene was well prepared for it.
Yeah.
because they never relied on selling records. They were already trading tapes.
Right.
They already had listservs and things.
Right.
So I think that's one reason. And like the audience is mind opening, or is opening to like. We now have expanded at Brooklyn Bowl, kind of the bands that are our home bands, like the Hold Steady. We call it Indie Jam. Relix, the next cover is Jack White. And the last one was Chris Stapleton.
Right.
And we did Beck. Like 10 years ago, those bands didn't want to be on cover of Relix.
Right, exactly.
And we still have our soul, I think. Right?
Yeah.
So we call it like Indie Jam.
Yep.
And a lot of that cool hipster jam, the National's Dead album. They did a whole cover album. Like
Yeah.
Brooklyn Bowl still doing heady jam stuff, but is perceived as the cool place in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Helps too.
Right.
We see cool people come out of these hotels, the hottest hotels in New York are next to us. They never would have gone and seen pigeons playing ping pong.
Right.
But because I brought that scene to Williamsburg and Brooklyn Bowl became what it was, they'll come in.
Yep.
And they're like, this is great.
Right. Well, it's also a hang.
Yeah, it's a
right?
hang.
It's not just going to see a band.
It's a hang. It's a scene, but they give it like it's Wetlands. They would not have gone to Wetlands.
Right.
It just wouldn't have worked. And there was no hell.
Right.
We were able to create something by being in Williamsburg and being at the front end of that and being perceived as an institutional place for Williamsburg.
Yeah.
I can do some bands that if it wasn't for Brooklyn Bowl, I don't think they could play Williamsburg really.
Right.
We do the Zen Tricks. They Gravel Lake cover bands in the center of hipster Brooklyn on the block.
Right.
And they do well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is kind of cool. It's like a reverse jiu-jitsu move.
Yeah, I like it.
Thanks. Ken Kesey would like that.
He would like that very much.
So.
What's your take right now on concert event safety and sort of where we're at with that? When you see, things that are going on, we just rolled off of Parkland and stuff like that. Obviously, that's not a concert event thing, right? But you got Vegas, you got other things going on out there. You got to take some of that on a little bit to think as you go forward with things that you want to do. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, just one thing to touch on, the Fairly Well experience, that happened in July of 15. The Paris stuff happened in, like, August.
That's right.
So we didn't have the airport scanner stuff. It's now all the stadiums do.
Yeah.
And we didn't. We were, like, the last big event. And that helped lead to an environment that made Fairly Well what it was. I mean, you don't have to go through the scanner. Now you have to. And people adjust. But it was a different tone in the tie-dye, for everyone.
Yeah.
I thank God for that.
Sure.
Because they couldn't have created that vibe. I don't think today is the same way. And we scan now at Brooklyn Bowl. We always at the Cap.
Yep.
And we held it. We did it at Brooklyn Bowl and then stopped for a while because it just wasn't the vibe. Now you just have to.
Right.
And we don't get people I think are there. And, beyond that, if your time's come, you just say, shit, your time's come. But we do want onto the airport, and we have to. And we have the security up.
Right.
But let me tell you, that's a big one. You don't want to go overboard. Security's hard.
Yeah.
Because if it goes over the line, you say,
Right.
you get crap. And if you're too light, you're exposed. So it's like something, again, you pay a lot of attention to. I watch it. You try to make sure the wanting's done. It's not overdone.
Right.
But done for security reasons.
Yep.
But we don't need to go too crazy.
Yep.
And
I'll tell you.
We do our bet,
Yeah.
and you treat people right so they
Right.
can still come and lose themselves.
Yeah.
And forget where they're at.
Yeah.
And forget about one thing they'll give you that's interesting is we've seen lately Saturdays are always bigger than Fridays. I mean,
Sure.
Just hour for hour. Lately, Fridays are bigger than Saturdays. We're seeing a really strength. I think because people leave work and are so stressed out at the end of the week of the craziness that they're drinking more or hanging out, just going earlier or staying later. Like the numbers are higher on Fridays.
Right.
Than Saturday when you're maybe a little more relaxed. It used to be
Sure.
Saturday was bigger than Friday.
Right. Saturday was the big night.
You'd go out, but like Friday, now you really want to hit it.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Last question. You're married.
Yeah.
You got kids.
Yeah.
You're going to shows. You're running a magazine. You got a music conference, whatever film project or something you might be in. How do you balance?
I'm thankful for being married and with 2 kids. I take my kids to school, most days of the week. And like that, without that, I'm not sure if I'm here because I could have gone off the road. But when you have to take your kid to school, like, you don't go off the road.
It's pretty humbling.
You go home.
Right.
At 2, I don't go home at midnight, 1 or 2, like, and you wake up at 7. You gotta wake up. You can't sleep. You can't miss that.
Right.
And my wife Rebecca also works in music, was helpful. But I do quick hits. Like I went to Mexico. I was in Florida with my mom and my son. My wife was in Chicago, and I left at 3 o'clock, and I was back at 8 a.m. the next day. And in between, I went to Cancun, Mexico, to see Dead & Co. I went like you can do it. You can do 20. I fly out of Red Eyes.
Right.
If I go to Vegas to a show, or going to London, or San Fran, like a lot of times going to LA, like I'll fly at 6 a.m. flight, and I'll sleep on the plane. You land at 9.
Right.
You have the whole day, and then like do the whole next day and take the red eye back, and I'll land at 7. And I won't be gone I'll come back for Saturday morning, take my kid to soccer. No, that's what I do. But I had 2 full days away.
Right.
And I left Thursday morning. I was back Saturday morning, and I went to the West Coast, but I had 2 full days. Some people are like, I don't take the red eye. I mean, those kids, they usually like have an older child, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or I travel a bunch, but that's how I do it.
Yeah.
So going over there, I left 6 8. I gained time. I took down,
Right.
And I took red eye back, and that's why I try to always. I sleep on. Sometimes people are like, how do you do all this? Like, fortunately, I can sleep on planes well.
Yeah.
So
But so making sure to make time for them.
Yeah, I make
is
that.
a way
Yeah,
to keep
so
you grounded.
Yeah, I never leave for like too extended of a time.
Yeah.
I have to travel a bunch, but I only do, like, I do the quick trips.
Right.
I'm not like, okay, I'm gone for 10 days, 2 weeks, never, 2 days. And
2-3 days max.
Yeah, max. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I won't go for a little while. Yeah. You can get a lot done. Again, if you got to go that way.
Right, right.
If you fly back at noon from the West Coast and
Sure.
you're back at 9, 10, you lose a whole day.
Right, right.
So I don't roll that way yet.
Right.
I just do the red eye.
Peter Shapiro, man, I got to thank you
Roadie
for
Free
giving me
Radio.
your time.
Thanks, Larry.
Dude, this has been awesome.
Appreciate it.
This is very cool.
Thanks.
Thank you
That was
very
a good
much,
hour,
dude.
bro.
Absolutely. All right, you folks, stay tuned. Next week, episode 91 coming up. See you then. Remember, no roadies, no rock and roll.
Peace.